It was just past 10:30 p.m. when I turned off the main highway and onto Black Pine Road. The air was warm, summer warm, the kind of night when the crickets never seem to stop, and the wind feels like it's carrying whispers you can't quite make out. My phone's battery had died 30 minutes earlier. No GPS, no music, just the low hum of my old Honda's engine and the crunch of tires on gravel. I wasn't supposed to be here. This road wasn't even on the map. Earlier in the evening, I had been at a friend's small cabin party near the lake. People had been drinking, laughing, and playing music way too loud. I decided to head out early. I had work in the morning, and I hated the thought of driving home at 2 a.m. with no streetlights. But on my way back, I took a wrong turn. And that wrong turn led me here. The road narrowed the farther I drove. Tall trees leaned in from both sides like they were trying to close off the sky. There were no signs, no houses, no lights, just more gravel and darkness. I told myself I'd turn around once I found a wide enough spot. But then, I saw it. A single house, 2 stories. Windows dark, except for one dim light upstairs. The strange thing was, there were no driveways leading to it. The house sat maybe 20 yards into the woods, with only a narrow dirt path leading up to the front steps. I should have kept driving. But I didn't. I stopped the car, opened the door, and stepped out. The night air was still, unnaturally still. Even the crickets had stopped. My shoes crunched on the gravel as I walked to the edge of the dirt path. The house looked abandoned, paint peeling, porch sagging, but that one light upstairs was still on. I don't know why, but I walked toward it. Every step made the silence louder. When I reached the front porch, I noticed something strange. The front door was slightly open, just a sliver. I pushed it gently, and it creaked like something out of an old horror movie. Inside, the air smelled like dust and damp wood. I whispered out, "Hello?" Nothing. I should have left, but the curious part of me kept going. The living room was empty, except for an old armchair facing the wrong way. Toward the wall, there was no TV, no pictures, no furniture, just that one chair. I didn't touch it. From upstairs came the faint sound of footsteps. Slow, heavy, not rushing, not sneaking, just moving. I froze. Every instinct in me said to run, but I found myself quietly moving to the stairs, as if pulled forward by something I couldn't explain. The wooden steps groaned under my weight. With each creak, the footsteps above went silent. By the time I reached the top, the air felt heavier, thicker. The hallway stretched out with 3 closed doors. The light was coming from the last one on the right. I moved toward it. My hand was trembling as I reached for the doorknob. The moment I touched it, the footsteps started again. But this time, they were right behind me. I spun around. The hallway was empty. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I forced myself to open the last door. Inside was a small bedroom. The light came from a single lamp on the floor, and next to it was a tape recorder. It was playing the sound of footsteps. That's when I realized someone had been luring me upstairs. I turned to run, but standing at the end of the hallway was a man. Tall, thin, his head tilted slightly to the side like he was studying me. He didn't speak, didn't move. He just smiled. I bolted down the stairs, skipping 2 steps at a time. I hit the front door so hard it slammed into the wall outside. When I got into my car and looked back, the man was standing on the porch, still smiling. I drove faster than I ever had in my life, gravel spitting out from under my tires. I didn't stop until I hit the main road. When I looked in the rearview mirror, the road behind me was empty. But for the next 2 weeks, every night before bed, I swore I heard slow, heavy footsteps just outside my window. It was the middle of July, and the highway stretched out ahead of me like an endless black ribbon under the stars. I'd been driving for hours, crossing from one state to another for a job interview in the morning. The night air through the open window was warm, carrying the faint scent of pine from the forest on either side. The road was quiet, too quiet. I hadn't passed another car in almost an hour. When I finally saw the glowing sign of a rest stop up ahead, relief washed over me. I needed to stretch my legs, use the bathroom, maybe grab a soda before the final 2 hours of my drive. The building was small, just a few vending machines outside, 2 dimly lit bathrooms, and a single street lamp flickering in the parking lot. One other car sat there, an old beige sedan, but I didn't see anyone around. I parked 2 spaces away, stepped out, and walked toward the restroom. The air felt heavy, not hot, not humid, just thick, like breathing through a damp cloth. The women's restroom was empty. The single light overhead buzzed faintly, and the mirror was cracked down the middle. I washed my hands quickly, not wanting to linger. When I stepped back outside, the other car was gone. But now, there was another one. A dark SUV. Windows completely blacked out. I didn't hear it pull in. I didn't see it drive up. It was just there. Something about it made my stomach knot. I walked quickly back to my car, trying not to look directly at it. That's when I heard the faintest sound. A click, like the sound of a door lock, but quieter. I froze, my hand hovering over my car door handle. But the sound came again, this time from behind me. I turned my head just enough to see movement in the corner of my eye. The back door of the SUV was cracked open. Inside, it was completely dark, but I could see the faint outline of someone sitting there, perfectly still. They weren't looking at me. At least, I don't think they were. Their head was tilted downward, like they were staring at the floor. Every instinct screamed at me to get in my car and drive. So I did. I slid in, locked the doors, and jammed the key into the ignition. Just before I turned it, I glanced up. The SUV's back door was now fully open. The figure inside had moved. They were sitting at the very edge of the seat now, leaning forward, their face still hidden in shadow. I turned the key. The engine roared to life. I didn't check my mirrors. I didn't look back. I just floored it until the rest stop disappeared in the distance. But about 10 minutes later, I saw headlights in my rearview mirror, a dark SUV. It stayed behind me for miles, never too close, never too far. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it turned off onto a side road and vanished into the trees. I don't know what would have happened if I'd hesitated at that rest stop. But every time I drive at night now, I can't shake the feeling that somewhere out there, that SUV is waiting for me to stop again. It was supposed to be the perfect summer night. 4 of us, camping deep in the woods, far from any roads, houses, or cell service. The fire crackled in the middle of our circle, casting orange light on our faces while the forest behind us dissolved into pure black. We'd been telling ghost stories for hours, each one more ridiculous than the last. By midnight, the air had cooled, and the forest was silent except for the occasional snap of a twig somewhere out there in the dark. I don't remember exactly when I noticed it, that faint sound, like something moving just outside the edge of the firelight. At first, I thought it was a deer, but then it stopped whenever we stopped talking. It felt like it was listening. I tried to shake it off, but after the third time I caught a shadow shifting just beyond the glow of the fire. I quietly asked my friend Jake if he'd seen anything. He nodded, but said nothing. That's when we heard it, a low whistle. Just 3 notes, slow, deliberate. It came from somewhere in the trees to our left. Jake grabbed the flashlight and aimed it in that direction. Nothing. We told ourselves it was just the wind, but the sound came again, this time from the opposite side. Same 3 notes. Now all of us were staring into the dark, our ears straining for movement. The fire suddenly felt way too small, the night way too big. We decided to pack up and head to the cars, even though it meant hiking 20 minutes through the woods in the dark. Halfway there, the whistling started again. Only this time, there were 2 sets, one ahead of us, one behind us. We walked faster. None of us spoke. Then Jake's flashlight hit something on the ground. A small pile of stones, stacked neatly in the middle of the trail. On top of the pile was a feather, stained dark at the tip. We stepped around it. The whistling got louder. By the time we saw the faint glow of our parked cars through the trees, the sound was coming from both sides of the trail, and it was moving with us. When we finally broke out of the woods, we didn't stop to talk. We jumped into our cars and peeled out of there, gravel spitting under the tires. I glanced in my mirror as we turned back onto the main road, and in the beam of Jake's headlights, just at the edge of the forest, 2 figures stood side by side, too far to see their faces, but both of them were still whistling.